Good morning, afternoon, or whenever it is that you are joining us for this Talkback Tuesday, friends. My name is Jordan Minnick Keesbo, and I'm the pastor here at Vermilion First United Methodist Church, and we're so glad you have taken a minute to join us on this Tuesday, or again, whenever you're watching it. This is a time for us to reflect on what we talked about last Sunday, to look ahead at what's coming this next week, and then also just to give you a heads up on anything that's happening around the church. And so I'm going to start there this week. Many of you have been asking, since we switched our worship style at the kind of beginning of August, we have been telling you that we are going to be doing 4 hymn sings throughout this year as a chance to gather, to celebrate a more traditional style of music, to have Chris there ripping on the organ. And our first one is coming up a week from today on October 1st. That'll be at 7 p.m. in our auditorium. And so if you are a fan of traditional music, of hymns, of the richness that comes with songs that have been sung by the church for generations, we would invite you to join us 16 North Dakota Street in Vermilion, 7 p.m. in our auditorium for a night of hymns and singing and connecting with each other. So that's coming up very soon. I did also want to give you a quick heads up. We did have a prayer request come in that I was given permission to share publicly. But Jody Rezak, many of you know Jody. She is Jan and Jerry's daughter. She has been fighting an infection in her knee. And so she is going in for surgery on the 26th, which I believe is Thursday. And we just want to be praying for Jody and for her surgeons and everyone who is caring for her as they try and take care of this infection. So I'm actually just going to pray for Jody right now. And so wherever you're at, if you could just pause for a second and join me in prayer, I would really appreciate it. So pray with me. God, we thank you for this day, for this time to gather virtually and reflect on who you are and who you're calling us to be. God, we know there are concerns in our community, and today we are aware of Jody's knee infection, and we just pray that you would do a healing work in her body, that you would guide the hands of the surgeons and all the medical professionals that will be providing care for her, and that this would be resolved better than we could ask or hope or imagine for. Be with Jan and Jerry and Jody's family as they all stand with her in this process and provide care. God, we know that you are with us when we hurt. And so we just pray you would be with Jody and all those who love her and are providing care right now, and all those who will be providing care as she goes in for surgery. We ask all this in your name. Amen. So Jody, Jan, Jerry, whole family, love you guys, praying for you, and want you to know that we're with you. So if there are other prayer requests, send them into the office at vermilionfirst.com, and I'll be praying for them. If you want them shared publicly, we can do that. If you don't, we will just hold that in confidence. We want to be a community that is in prayer together. So want to take some time to do that right away today. And then let's talk about Sunday. We had a great Sunday, and if you weren't able to join us, you can still catch up by watching that service online via YouTube or Facebook Live. It was a fantastic wrap up to this first series that we've done in this new format of worship. And we looked at a song called Reckless Love by Corey Asbury, and we kind of asked this question: can God be reckless? And it was for me at least, it was both a challenging and a super rich dialogue that we had, and that I had with the text as I study, and that I had with the different sources, and that as I interacted with the song, and then even, after the service, had some conversations with some of you about how this message and the song has impacted you. And so I just want to thank all of you who have participated and gone along with us on this wild ride as we've made some shifts to the way we're doing our corporate gathering time. It was a great Sunday, and we had some new folks join us, some folks come back who are newer to us. So I just feel like God's doing something here, and it's exciting. So Sunday morning, we would love to have you join us, but a little more on this idea of God as reckless. I mentioned this in the sermon, but I'll never forget that day when we were looking at Luke 15 in a Bible class that I taught at a college in Pennsylvania, and the student was like, "I hate that song." And initially, it took me aback. I was so surprised because I really like this song. This idea of a God who does something that doesn't make sense and goes after the one. And yet, as I processed it, I think there's something to it, and it brings home this idea that we've been talking about this whole series. And so on the first Sunday of the series, as we looked at what the Psalms are and kind of how they function, all the way through to this last Sunday when we looked at more of a biblical question as opposed to, or a theological question as opposed to more of a biblical one with the Psalms of God and can God be reckless. I just want to remind us, and if I sound like a broken record, I apologize, but I think it needs to be said. All of this that we're doing here, the preaching, the community, the songs we sing, all of it is an attempt to be in community with and to describe for others something, our God, that is foundationally beyond our comprehension. One of the truest pieces of Christian theology is that God is infinite and we as human beings are finite. And we live in this disparate relationship where the best we can do is catch a glimpse of the greatness and fullness of who God is. And so when we use words and metaphors to describe what God is like, when we put God into our human terms, we are not saying that God is those human terms. We're just doing our best to try and give a sense of who we have experienced our Creator to be. And so at times, there will be things that I will say from the pulpit that you're going to go, I'm not sure that's quite right. And we've had that before at this church, and friends, we're going to have it again. But I want us to be a place where we can disagree on some of this stuff because language is finite and we're trying to describe something that is so far beyond what our words can do. And so I just want to say, like, in our services, in our songs, if there's stuff that you disagree with, I have an open door policy. And like my cell phone number is on the door to our church. You can use it. You can text me. You can email me. And I would love to chat with you about the areas of disagreement. And friends, I want to be as honest as I can on this. I want us to be a church where we do not agree on everything. You may have heard me use this analogy before, but my undergraduate work was in audio engineering, and I ran a highly unsuccessful recording studio for a couple years. But the most perfect sound that exists in the universe is a sine wave. It is a mechanically generated sound wave that is pristine and perfect and incredibly boring. Because its perfection is boring. It is plain, and friends, it can be annoying. The beauty of our lives, the beauty of our communities, the beauty of this thing we call the church and its uniqueness with each person that's part of it and brings something different to it is not found in our sameness. It's found in our difference. And I want us at Vermilion First United Methodist Church to be a church that not everyone believes and prays and worships like I do. Because I spend a lot of time with me, and time with more of me might get a little irritating. So wherever you are on this theological spectrum, we are part of a United Methodist Church, and we have a specific tradition that our church comes out of. And there are things that I hold very precious from that tradition, and others in our community hold very precious in this tradition. But what I love about the United Methodist Church is that we subscribe to this idea of a big tent or a big table. And I like the tent analogy because it says that, like, we have this center post that holds the whole tent up, right? And that center post is not a creed. It is not a confession of faith. It is Jesus, right? That's it. Jesus. And everything around that is open to conversation and some sense of disagreement. Wherever you are in this journey of life and faith that we call Christianity, we want you to be part of us. And we're not going to make you sign a checklist of all the things that you affirm to do that. What we're going to ask is, do you believe Jesus is Lord? And are you committed to following after and pursuing the life that God has called us to through the person of Jesus Christ as described in our scriptures? If you can agree to that, we can deal with the rest of the stuff. But that's what's most important. And so, as we wrap up this conversation about the songs that we sing, the ways that we describe God, both in our songs, but also in our scriptures and in our everyday lives, I want to be really clear on this. We're going to disagree, and I am grateful for that. So, if you love this series, we're going to continue in conversations, right? And we're going to be intentional about the songs we choose to sing and the words that and the words and ideas that they communicate. But we're also going to shift gears a little bit. And so this coming week, we are starting a new series. as many of you may have heard, there is an election season coming up. And this is probably going to be one of, if not the, most contentious election season on record. And we as a church, again, like I just said, want to be very clear that there is places for all in our community, regardless of your political affiliation. And we as a society are not doing that well right now. And so as I was reflecting on what I want to talk about for us as a church as we head into this challenging season, I was drawn back to these 3 simple rules that John Wesley, the founder of the Methodist movement, we see him as the founder of United Methodist Church, was really drawn to. And they were how he tried to live his life. And so there's a great book by a former bishop in the United Methodist Church who has since passed on, named Reuben Job, called the 3 Simple Rules, and explores kind of this Wesleyan way of life. And so we're going to take some time over these next 5 weeks. We've got about 5 weeks until the election, just to ask ourselves, how do we interact with the world? How do we hold our beliefs, as important as they are, with the strength and determination that they require, and also function in a community where we do not all agree? And so we're going to look at these 3 simple rules. So this Sunday, we're going to give you an overview of the 3 simple rules. And I'll give you a little teaser. The three simple rules, and if you've been with us for any period of time, you've probably heard these, are do no harm, do good, and stay in love with God. And so we're going to start this conversation Sunday about why these rules. And then the next 3 weeks, we're going to take 1 rule each week, and we're going to explore the why and the implications of living this way and what Jesus is calling us to in that. And then we're going to wrap up with a week kind of saying, all right, now what? How do we make the rubber hit the road on this? How do we actually, as a community of believers, live out these rules? And so I think it's going to be a really fruitful conversation. For the next 5 weeks, for this time, for our Talkback Tuesday, I'm going to be joined by various other United Methodist clergy to get their perspectives, because I have a perspective on these rules, but I am not the only perspective on any of this. And so next week, super excited, going to have a conversation with our new district superintendent, Brandon Vetter. We're going to record that this week, and then I'll air that in this time next week. And then the following weeks, I'm trying to get clergy from around the Dakotas, because we are part of a church that is bigger than just Vermilion, that is bigger than Southeast South Dakota. So I've got a clergy friend who serves in the Southeast District lined up. I've got another clergy friend who serves in the North. I'm Southeast. Someone in the Southwest, someone in the Northeast, and I'm working on trying to get someone from the Northwest. And so they will join us for those next 3 weeks, and then I'm working on a final guest that following week, just to kind of bring it all home. So I'm excited about where we're headed. I think this is one of those things for me that has changed my outlook on the world. And it's put language to something that I had in a sense of and kind of a longing for. And so I think for many of us, we can engage in a conversation of what it looks like to live out our faith in the public square through these 3 simple rules. So Sunday at 10, we would love to have you join us. Also, we've got some new invite cards, so I'm going to try and get these focused. I don't know if you can see that on the front. It's got our logo, and on the back, just a really simple invite. Join me for church. And so we've got a stack of these. I ordered 500, so you guys got some work to do. But I challenged our folks on Sunday, and I would challenge this to you as well. If you are only online with us, shoot me an email, drop a comment in the comments section, and I'll mail you a stack of these cards. Because we want to be an inviting church. We're excited about what God is doing here and in and through this community. And I think this next series is going to be a really good one to invite folks to, because it's a conversation that I think we are all feeling. So stop by church, grab some of these invite cards, invite friends to join you as we kick off this new series, and we'll see you Sunday. Have a great week.